time. Look on Trailer Park Trash. You got the welfare queen. You got all this discrimination and racism when you have.
It's the same for the Asians, the Mexicans, the Africans.
Yes.
You know, everybody has endured some form of racism throughout their life, especially if you're from this generation or previous generations before you.
But look at this. That same tree, look at another branch. You got jealousy. You got envy. You got, ain't that what Cain killed Abel for? He had envy and jealousy in him. You got all these different emotions or acts that we could say that is negative that's coming off the main trunk of power. So yes, I do not try to focus too much of my time thinking about racism. When I do, I'm trying to to elevate my people to help transition to change's mission with King Summers and Queen Summers, move this movement of a mission to solve and cut all these branches off and plant a new seed.
And finally, an inflated ego, it narrows our vision. The ego always looks for information that confirms what it wants to believe. Basically, a big ego makes us have a strong confirmation bias. Because of this, we lose perspective and end up in a leadership bubble where we only see and hear what we want to. And as a result, we lose touch with the people we lead, the society and culture that we are a part of. And we're going to relax for a minute and meditate on a couple things when it comes down to the power and the ego of the mind.
I leave my people with these questions that they can meditate on as a not quick answer to us. Just answer them for yourself. How can we solve power? Ain't this a show called 50 Cent got out called Power or something like that?
Yeah, I think Power Part 2.
People are into that, but the show is the reality. We need to fix power. And think about what is power. How is it related to racism and all the branches that I'm talking about to give examples of the problem that's at hand? Think about that. While we go to this quick break and stay tuned and come on back in with us.
Thank you. Hi, and welcome to Transitional Changes Mission podcast show. This is your host, Queen Summers.
With your host, King Summers.
And if you are enjoying our show thus far, please write to us at tcmissionspeaks@gmail.com or follow us, like us, love us on all our major platforms, Speaker, Anchor, Spotify. We're very appreciative of your patronage and listening.
Yes, thank you.
So, when you break free of an overly protective or inflated ego, and avoiding the leadership bubble is an important and challenging job. It requires selflessness, reflection, and courage. So I'm going to leave you with a few tips that'll help you. Consider the perks and privileges you are being offered in your role. Some of them enable you to do your job effectively. That's great. But some of them are simply perks to promote your status and power and ultimately your ego. Consider which of your privileges you can let go of. It could be the reserved parking spot near the front door, or perhaps a special pass for the elevator. Support, develop, and work with people who won't feed your ego. Hire smart people with the confidence to speak up. Humility and gratitude are cornerstones of selflessness. Make a habit of taking a moment at the end of each day to reflect on all the people that were part of making you successful on that day. This helps you develop a natural sense of humility by seeing how you are not the only cause of your success, and end the reflection by actively sending a message of gratitude to those people. The inflated ego that comes with success, the bigger salary, the nicer home, the easy laughs, often makes us feel as if we found the eternal answer to being a leader. But the reality is we haven't. Leadership is about people, and people change every day. If we believe we found the universal key to leading people, we've just lost it. If we let our ego determine what we see, what we hear, and what we believe, we've let our past success damage our future success. And you don't want to do that.
You are so right, Queen Summer. And yes, I left off at what is power? I asked the people to meditate about that question. Can have many branches off of it to be related to all the other branches. And I'm going to explain why I say that. Before I go into that, I'm going to relate it back to the animal kingdom. Now, this is our DNA. We are a part of that. Cold-blooded, warm-blooded. You got all different types of species. I haven't found not one species, there probably is some out there that cultivate in territories this bias or jealousy. I haven't found too many of them. But what we have been blessed with, the human being blessing, is a better mind state. They say dolphins has a different type of extra mind state. There's something that the humans can capture if you know how to meditate. Every animal on this planet has something related to you. And one related thing that it does have is power. Most animals like to cultivate together. We are one of those species. We cultivate in different tribes, villages, or countries. Now, what I explained in the first half, this country is beautiful with diversity. I left off explaining, like, can you imagine that? Trying to design a country of diversity. It have led up to racism, all kind of stuff. But how can we fix that power within that? Now, let's go back to the tribe. Is there to be said there is a leader born with the DNA trait of being a leader? A leader in a human species have drawn up a country of diversity. It came off to the history written that it was 4 of them. Or I think it was way more than that. It took a community.
I think maybe 13 to 24.
Yes. And all of them came into their opinion, which is the power part of one person or maybe multiple ones saying this is the way to go. Now, they had to know, when you think about it, they had to know all the other branches that they'll come off with this. President. You got CEOs. You got the richest man in the world. You got the biggest rims. You got the biggest house. You got all this competition. You got jealousy, envy, all these different type of branches. do we have the mind state of intelligence to be the main species on this planet? Because in my mind, we still acting savage. I even explained to how people have meditated or learned or might have a lesser trait of savage in their DNA, but some might have more. And I was explaining that when a person meditates to have compassion towards the other one, that is a great leader to me.
Right. That's right. And that's where humility come in. That I read somebody's status on one of the social media platforms, and they were saying where they from, they actually call people ugly. Even if they are the most beautiful person, they call them ugly, to bring them back down to earth. Like, you're not 100%, the best thing walking on this earth.
Yeah, I seen one that was, they got off the plane. I think that was a movie Jim Carrey. The first time he ran into the tribe, they spit in his face.
Yes.
Like,
what was that? Ace Ventura, with Nature Calls. Yes. So that's when humility is characterized by a low self-focus, sincere sense of self, and increased valuation of others. Gratitude is marked by a sense that one has benefited from the actions of another. Knowing these 2 points, one would have to suggest that humility and gratitude are mutually reinforcing. Gratitude makes us humble. I'm going to say that again. Gratitude makes us humble. Yes. Humility is a difficult thing to talk about because usually people who talk about how humble they are aren't really all that humble. So humility is simply understanding the web in which you live, like that spider web the king was just talking about in the tree. Some would say that it's thinking of yourself less and others more. But even if that fails, to interpret the tradition of the word, to understand humility is to do away with inferiority and superiority altogether. So you cannot look no high or no less. That's your solution to humility. Greatness and humility are not incompatible. More often than not, where you find one, you'll find the other. It's imperative that you understand who you are, and your connection to the divine and to others is what we do when we come freely and boldly to where love is enthroned, to receive mercy's kiss and discover the grace we urgently need to strengthen us in our time of weakness.
Yes, my queen. And I would say this on a religious level. This what led to me to study different religions. And when I first stepped into it, I had questions, probably like most. What is it about this power warfare religion? I mean, if you sit here and say you're so religious, some have said, well, my religion is the biggest, the baddest, the best. When I started reading the 2 biggest religions, I think it's like 3 billion people under Islamic and 4 billion or 5 billion under Christianity. And then you got Catholics, and then you got Jerusalem, Toryism. I studied a lot, Sikhism. All these show the form of why I say religion leads up to power. Religion is control. It's parts of everything that's on that branch. Why you think it's a branch? It came off the main tree. Mm-hmm. Like Queen Summer said, it has a root.
Right.
That leads to the divine. The divine, the Creator gave humans the biggest capable mind state on this planet. And here y'all are still acting like animals. What set us different from animals?
Somebody write to us and let us know that. What separates us from the animals? tcmissionspeaks@gmail.com. I would love to know your answer.
Me too. What you say, clothes, cars, or we can put things together. We know 1 + 1. I mean, when you get down to it, obviously still racism. A lion will kill a cheetah for nothing. Don't eat them. Don't do nothing that. You got great white sharks that'll kill a human just for getting in the water.
You're right.
You got all different types of species that got some form of power. Mm. I'm going to lead up to, at the end of the show, a conclusion of how we're going to solve this problem, but I'm talking about the religious aspect of it right now, the spiritual aspect of it.
Yes.
Spiritual aspect of the divine, the sit back gave us the biggest mind, and I know we can do it. Mm-hmm. We just focusing or being distracted. I mean, mainly being distracted and focusing on the wrong thing.
Right.
Racism, you got President